Everybody, it's HBCU game day. It's homecoming week. The vibe is kind of like that Sunday morning service at 9 o'clock. You just come as you are. Look, I literally came straight out of the car. I was going to go and get a sandwich. Neely said, I'm ready to go right now. I'm ready to record. So I skirted, and no suit, no tie, literally out the gate from the car here talking to you. But it's all good because it's not about what I look like. It's about what we talk about. Neely, it is homecoming week. Jackson State, out of conference opponent. A lot of people might not be very familiar with Campbell University. I'm from North Carolina. I am very intimately familiar with Campbell. I used to go to their basketball camp. That's what they were most popular for, basketball, back in the 80s and 90s. So a pretty cool matchup for me. What are your thoughts on this weekend? It's a team that I would hope, I know you're not, I know the coaching staff isn't, but for the fans, this is not a team to sleep on. It's not Cupcake City rolling into Jackson this weekend.
And we have been saying just that on the pregame show since the schedule was released this past spring, and really touching on it later in the spring and early in the summer, Tolly, because people will remember that Campbell, they were right behind us, maybe 4 or 5 slots behind us in their recruiting class as far as the ranking of who they were able to attract and get to the school. So we have known about this program and known that there are no slouch, no cupcake. This is not someone you schedule for homecoming so you can get a victory. This is going to be one of the tougher matchups for Coach Prime and his Jackson State Tigers.
Neely, can we just acknowledge a little bit? I got your logo on the monitor here, man. I got you some branding going on. I just want you to acknowledge that.
I do want to acknowledge, but I got to admit that the ski vest took away from it.
It's cold in Atlanta, man.
But your arms are hot.
Look, I don't, if I unzip it, Neely, these pecs, I just can't put the pecs on the screen right there, man. They're not ready for that.
You're doing the right thing. Put the pecs up.
They're not ready. So you see the kind of relationship we have. Coach Sanders and Rob J have the same relationship, but the internet is a dumb place, and they could not figure that out by simply watching a video of two brothers, jonesing each other, having a good time, sharing presents. It's a typical black male relationship. The more you love each other, the harder of a time that you give one another. Neely beats me up all the time. Neely, I don't even want to try to explain the internet, but that was like the dumbest thing of the week. The whole, did you see what Coach Prime? Oh, he had to check the reporter. That was so terrible. I'm like,
We just live in a world where it's all about clickbait. If you could have a sensational headline, if you can have a person like Coach Prime that's riding high and shoot a shot at them to show some kind of negativity and get your clicks and your shares and your likes up, people do it. And it happens more and more too often in that black media space. And it just gets reshared and reshared. And eventually, in all fairness, it eventually makes it to some people who have no idea of the context, who never see these weekly press conferences. They only see that 1 30-second, 45-second take, and they think that's all there was to it. But for people who are in the loop and in the know and follow Jackson State football and Deion Sanders, Rob J and Coach Prime play like that every week. And you can take any clip, 15 seconds worth, and you can think it was mean-spirited or divisive or something. But if you watch 30 seconds of it, you'll see that these are two guys that really get along and just give each other a hard time. Coach Prime was able to respond to it because, as he puts it, he keeps receipts. So he tasked the pregame show with putting together some clips of the banter between he and Rob J. And it just showed that, hey, there's nothing here, to those sites on Instagram and the World Wide Web that Al Gore invented, sharing it over and over to try to paint some negativity. These two guys really do get along and like each other.
So the world is what? 0 for 1,000 with the, oh, I got you, Coach Prime. Like, it, like, do your job. Like if there's things to report. But thinking that you're going to get a layup like, oh, I got him now. Everyone so far has failed.
And it happens every week. Just recently, someone asked him about, well, you said that no HBCU ever recruited you, and we got a coach that was at FAMU in the late 80s, and he said he did. And, maybe people got two different definitions of recruitment and efforts. But Deion Sanders has said over and over he had no recollection of it, and no HBCU came after him. But someone wants to make it an issue that somebody said different, and it didn't get any legs other than the legs I just gave it right now. But every week someone is trying something, as you said, Tolly, over 1,000, but they keep swinging, and every time they swing, Deion Sanders gets stronger.
Yeah, I must say his ability to just deal with that and let it roll off his back is so much better than mine, and so much better than a lot of people. I feel like, Neely, and I'm being honest with you. I have integrity. I'm being honest with our viewers out there. I often tell myself, look, don't get up there and sound like you're carrying water. Be optimistic, not optimistic. Be equal, whatever it is we do as journalists. The word escapes me as I get older. But I just find things that he does and his ability and energy to do it and the level that he does it at, I still find it to be amazing, and that's just my honest reaction every week. I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid. I'm just calling it like I see it. I thought that 60 Minutes piece was so amazing, the way he took advantage of that opportunity. It was almost like he was interviewing himself. Like the guy for 60 Minutes, hell of a reporter, but, Coach Prime knew the platform that he was on. And when he looked in the camera and said, I would love for a billionaire to be out there watching right now saying, I want to make an investment here. He said that in so many words, not exactly what he said, and be able to, bet on Coach Prime. I was like, brilliant. Like fundraising, like in the moment, entertaining along the way. I thought we had reached a level, Neely, where the Coach Prime kind of thing was kind of plateauing. I look at our analytics. I'm like, all right, people are kind of used to it. But man, these last couple of weeks, it's been a resurgence for your behind with everything that's just popping out of JSU, man.
Well, a couple of things, Todd, that you touched on there. Let me deal with the last thing first.
I know I was just talking.
It will never plateau with Deion Sanders. Hear me again. It will never plateau with Deion Sanders. It will never flatten out. There will never be just a normalcy. Okay, now everyone's used to this. And the reason it won't be, going to what you said first about some things about him and what he pours into his team. Teams are often a reflection of their head coaches, and that is consistency and focus. And because he is so consistent in his responses, and because he's so focused in what he's trying to accomplish here with this program, it's hard to get him off task and off message. So even when he's doing joking around with Rob J, or sitting down with me in the pregame show, or doing something with 60 Minutes, Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, is on task, and the task is to build a dominant program here at Jackson State, to put the spotlight on HBCUs and to level the playing field and show that we can compete, from players to coaches to internal staff and support, at any level above where we are. And so that's why you see it never plateauing, because when he reaches a point where, okay, we're scoring 35 points a game, you best believe the new goal is going to be 42 points a game, and then 49 points a game. And if you're giving up 9 points, the next goal is only give up 6 or give up 0. So it's never going to plateau. It's never going to be a thing where, we're used to that, no one's ever going to watch again, because this guy is so driven, consistent, and focused on the mission at hand. It just is what it is. That's why you have the outcomes that you have.
All right, scale of 1 to 100, percentage-wise, how many people lose 2 toes, a part of their leg, and just say, you know what, give me the handicap sticker, give me a disability check, and I'm gonna sit back and just tell a story about, what I went through, and that's gonna be it. I don't have the energy to. Neely, I would have never known. If it was not publicized, I would have said, okay, he's got a little bit of a limp there, but I just can't imagine going through that. And for me to actually see, that was the first time I really saw it on a graphic level, watching the 60 Minutes. I don't know how you bounce back in the same year and have the same amount of mojo going through that.
Well, I got to tell you, Tolly, it's determination. It's a fortitude that he has. And to make it better, it wasn't even the same year. People don't know the backstory of when he showed up to coach when we went down to Southern and Baton Rouge to that away game that actually clinched the East for us. At that time, he still had open wounds and was out there in the night air. It was probably 38 degrees that night, and against doctor's orders, he was like, "No, I'm going back and I'm coaching because the team needs me, and my son at QB1 has came to the hospital to see me. He needs me." I can vouch for just a personal testimony that there were times I was at the game. The game is going on, and he's calling my cell phone from the hospital to tell somebody something. Like he's watching the game on TV and listening to it on the radio. He never, unplugged. He was always connected and determined. And so when he was out of the hospital and able to get back at work, you can see, the different mechanics he was using. He virtually showed up on a bed with wheels on it and a joystick controlling it, and then went from that to a four-wheeler to one of the scooters for your knees to crutches to walking. He never stopped. And that's back to his consistency and just his drive to dominate. He doesn't make excuses. So he never was going to let that happen to him and say, okay, I tried to coach at the HBCU, ran into some health issues. That's it. He looks at it as an opportunity and a challenge to overcome, not something to fold on.
It's so amazing. I just look at life through my eyes and how I would react to things. I think that's the human way to approach it. But man, when I think about the things that will throw me off of my day, Neely, like you could blow your horn at me in traffic and I might not be any good for the next 30 minutes. So I try to woo-saw, bring it back down.
You talk about how most people are. Everyone has heard these rumors and innuendo, and even out of his own mouth saying he would have to entertain, some conversations when they came up. Most people, you talk about what most people do if they had some kind of injury like that and how they would just fold up and take it in. Most people, if they did have the wherewithal that they were leaving somewhere, hell, they stopped working. Most people out there, when they put their 2 weeks notice in, they quit working 6 months ago. They just been coming and showing up. But there is nothing, if this guy is even remotely thinking about leaving, if in the middle of the night, his quiet time, he's even daydreaming about seeing somewhere else, you don't see it in his work ethic. He's literally here at 4 a.m. and he's here past 4 p.m. every day. He's still recruiting. He's still working on bettering his program. He's still working on corporate sponsorships and partnerships. He's still trying to bring out the best in himself, his staff, and his players. There is no indication in his work ethic, his drive, consistency, focus, and determination that he's going anywhere. And so on one hand, you hear these rumors and you realize that the more a coach performs, the more he's going to be desired. But he doesn't look like he's interested in anything other than Jackson State being dominant and getting players to the next level.
They want him bad, Neely. Me and you can always talk openly. I live in Atlanta and I listen to sports talk radio, and Al Sharpton like all day long. Quite a pair there. But that Georgia Tech job is open, and any given day they're talking about what it would be like to have Coach Sanders back here in Atlanta. So his name remains hot out there. I just don't know, your average coach, especially your African American coach at that level, man. It's like. They walk a fine line with a lot of topics and subjects, and it's it can be a little eggshell moment there. Ain't nobody gonna tell them what to do or what to say. That's the dynamic that I always think about, and you don't even have to react to that. That's just me.
Oh no, I'm gonna react. You have me on for me to react. I'm going to react.
Okay, I'm going to shut up. I'm going to shut up and let you react, man.
I'm not here to not react. One of the things about Deion Sanders that I said on the pregame show, even before he and I touched hands and met for the first time, I'm mature enough and know the industry enough that all coaches leave. You don't know when they're going to leave, but all coaches leave. So from day one, I was looking at things infrastructure-wise. What can you build at Jackson State? What can you require at Jackson State that should the day come that he's no longer here, there's just some things he can't take with him. And when you look at the notoriety that we've gotten from a Sports Illustrated cover to a new turf field put in by Walmart to the renovations to the locker room and the facility that the football team operates out of, that he gave up half his salary to do. Even if Coach Prime, God forbid, were to leave here, those things ain't going with him. You're not rolling up that turf field. You can't take down all that exposure that things like Sports Illustrated and the 60 Minutes got you. And what I mean by that is there are now people all across the world, literally, who never heard of Jackson State before, but they have in the past 2.5 years. Those are things of value that you just can't wipe away because you change coaches. The other aspect of that is this, Tolly. So many times in the HBCU space, when coaches leave, they leave for a negative reason. The next coach not only has to win, he has to fix what the last coach was pushed away from. This is a situation that should a Deion Sanders leave the SWAC, leave HBCUs, leave Jackson State University, he's passing the baton to the next guy better than has ever been passed before. So these are things to celebrate in my mind, but I got to double back and double down on this. You don't see departure in the guy's work ethic. 4 a.m. to 6 p.m., 6 days a week, focused on domination, focused on still on recruitment and bringing out the best in these players, focused on an undefeated season, dominant fashion, SWAC championship, and focused on dominating, winning the Celebration Bowl. There's nothing in his day-to-day activities that suggests, hey, I want out of here or I'm leaving. And that's another thing to hang your hat on, because most people, as you put it, health-wise or even career-wise, they start dialing it back when they know the sun is setting. This guy works like the sun is rising. Like it's 5 a.m. in his coaching career, not 7 p.m. He ain't going to bed. He's just getting up. He's ready.
I like that. He ain't going to bed. He's just getting up. I'm going to steal that one, Neely. You talk about health. The defense is getting healthier. We saw Shiloh back on the field last week, Shiloh Sanders. I keep hearing that we might hear Travis Hunter or might see Travis Hunter this weekend for homecoming. Do you anticipate 12 being out there on the field?
As every Saturday gets closer, I anticipate it and look forward to it. I've said time and time and again on my own program, the Thee Pregame Show, and here on HBCU Game Day, you haven't seen the best Jackson State Tiger team yet, particularly on defense, because you had key guys who have yet to play together this year. So you're coming up to where you're going to see defensive linemen we call true. You're going to see Shiloh Sanders. You're going to see Travis Hunter on the field at the same time. And that allows you to do some things that you've never done before, like take a John Huggins who got all those safeties this past week and move him to linebacker instead of back there as safety, a position that he could play very well. So I believe that there's going to be a Travis Hunter sighting at homecoming, or if not, certainly before this season ends. And as you get into this final stretch, because keep in mind, we got 7 games left. As you get into this back half of the season, you're going to see a Tiger team that you hadn't seen before. So whatever's on film when we played, say, Tennessee State, second week of the season, that's not the same team anymore.
Yeah, it's and it's getting better and better each week. Let's go back to Rob J for a second. The one positive thing I did like about people being so loud and wrong about that story, it did get Rob's name out there. And Neely, some people call me an OG. I've been doing this for a while. Rob is my OG because he's been doing this for a long time. So I was glad to see him kind of get his flowers in many respects when people kind of got it right. How valuable is his voice, his face, his deadpan humor to the Jackson State community?
Hey, and not just the Jackson State community, to the Jackson community in Mississippi as well. I was growing up and watching Rob J. He was a younger reporter then on WLPT, who had one of the best sports coverages in Mississippi. And he was being Rob J. then. For him to have worked all these years and got to this space where he was recognized and even inducted into the SWAC Hall of Fame for his media works, and to have him, with all his media experience, literally as an employee at the university doing the sports media thing, you just can't put a value on it. And since Coach Prime has been here, Rob J, again, is an internal media outlet, and you could just see their relationship budding over the days, weeks, months, and years. Even to the degree, like when I mentioned Coach Prime calling me from the hospital, typically a coach, when he's coaching the game, he ain't listening to the radio or watching TV. Well, during that time that he was in the hospital, he got to hear and see Rob J do a game, and literally called from the hospital saying, "Man, you're doing a great job. I like what I'm seeing here." And then he had to slip in the jab and say, "But then again, I was heavily medicated, so." I don't know if it was that good, Rob J. But man, Rob J is a great guy, great person to be around, very charismatic, and to see what some people meant or took as a negative or to promote their own brands to get clicks, and to see that get flipped. And people are now singing his praises, including a Hall of Famer himself in football, who also had 14 years in journalism and broadcast journalism, and Coach Prime. It's great to be in the room and watch them interact.
I just don't see why people could not appreciate Rob J's comedic timing, his deadpan delivery. I mean, it was like Abbott, Costello, Three Stooges. It was that level of.
And I'm not saying this to defend. I'm actually blaming the people who initiated. The first people who put that out as a negative, they knew they clipped the ends off. It was deliberate, and they knew they changed the caption on the screen. And they knew they were trying to make Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, look bad. It was deliberate. But as it gets reshared, and I'm talking about tens of thousands of times, there are going to be people who get it, who literally don't know any better. All they know is what they see. They don't know Rob J's personality over the past 25 plus years in broadcasting. They just know Coach Prime is this no-nonsense coach, and he demands this and demands that. So it looked legit if you didn't know any better. But again, I'm not letting those original people off the hook. Those original folks, and I'm not mentioning their Instagram names because I'm not going to drive any traffic toward them. But those original folks, they knew what they were doing. They purposely clipped that where it was, changed the caption, and made it to be something that it was not.
I'm going to have to review my invitations to the proverbial cookout. Neely, I can walk into the mall, the arcade, all the places where young people might be, and I might be there with my children. I can see two young boys pretending to fight, right? We see that all the time. Shadow boxing, play fight. I know within a millisecond whether it's the real deal or those are two friends goofing around. So I need people to check their credentials.
Talikar, you know damn well common sense ain't common no more. And then when you add in that there is actually a monetized value on it not being common, which means clicks and likes and reshares and advertising on social media, there's now an incentive to go out there with something wrong, just go fast and heavy and title it something else to get a click on it. That's the world, shamefully, that's the world we live in. So I know better, and I know that you know better. Coach Prime and Rob J clearly know what they're doing, but I ain't surprised when some Joe out there intentionally gets it wrong to make a buck off what we're doing here.
Sniper media from afar.
Sniper media.
But congrats. I mean, the way Rob J just, he did the retake, and then he was like, he kind of played off the ASU. Man, I was rolling. I was just looking at that thing dying, man. But that was great. And then they followed it up this week. Go to, we're going to drive some traffic here. Go to Thee Pregame Show. Do you have this week's on your YouTube and IG, or is it just on YouTube?
It's on the YouTube right now. We got two different things. One, Coach Prime was playing like he was ignoring Rob J. And then preached a sermon. We even dropped the organ in it. And then there's also snippets of Rob J sit down with Coach Prime, where Rob J even slapped Coach Prime. So it's pretty funny.
He flipped it. He did the code switch check on Coach Prime this week. I love it, man. I love it. Neely, how's your homecoming?
We tried to do it in a manner where no one could splice this one and say, hey, look, they're fighting, but somebody's going to try it.
Yeah, it's internet for dummies now. How's your homecoming going, man? You are a JSU alum, so not only are you working this week, you are partaking in some level of festivity, I would imagine.
It's going to be, it's getting started. People are starting to arrive, even though, we're midweek and it really takes off Thursday afternoon. Coach Prime, of course, has a lot of special guests coming in as well. So it's going to be a star-studded weekend with some of his friends and supporters. They start rolling in here Friday and Saturday. So there's no telling who you're going to see Saturday at the game here to support Coach Prime. But homecoming is a big deal, man. And what makes it an even bigger deal is what we have back-to-back here. We have homecoming, as you know, against Campbell. But literally the next week, Southern from Baton Rouge comes into town, which is another 55 to 60,000 attended game. So it's going to be 14 days of just high activity and high buzz around here.
And Southern is playing well, man. They had that, I don't know what happened in that Texas Southern game, but since then, man, they have been on fire. That might be a little SWAC championship preview. We might get round one with the round two to come later. I know there's some other teams out west that might have something to say about that, but I'm looking forward to that matchup for sure. I'm looking forward to this one. I'm not overlooking Campbell. Campbell's already beaten North Carolina Central. North Carolina Central is having an outstanding year. Campbell did not have any problems with them. They're going to play you guys this weekend. They got A&T at GHO next week. So you guys say GHO out in Jackson? Does that even get recognized?
It doesn't blip on our radar. We know we're the world's greatest homecoming. Okay. So just because you name something first don't mean you're actually it.
Okay, I'm East Coast, so we get inundated with GHO. I didn't know how that falls in Jackson, Mississippi.
Yeah, it falls off the table.
But I do like Campbell swag, man. They said, look, we will play you and we'll play you at your homecoming. You got to appreciate the bravado in that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great game. I think it's, we're in this situation where Jackson State is not measured by wins. We're measured by how well we dominate. And so, people just look at, like, you look at some of these quarters that someone may have had a 3-point lead or a half where we didn't have 21 points yet, and everybody's doing the Nelson Muntz from The Simpsons, and we still win the game. So we are clearly measured not just on victories, margin of victory, but it has to be a dominant performance on the scoreboard and on all three phases of the game. I think that this Campbell team that's coming in here is a good matchup for us. We're their measuring stick. We're everybody's Super Bowl. Everybody's getting up because they want to be the ones to dethrone us, if you will. So we're focused here. These guys are not thinking about homecoming. They're thinking about this opponent and getting prepared. I believe it's going to be a great measuring stick for us to show the world that, hey, we try to tell you what we got here. And you can see that even though you bring in a component outside of the conference, outside of the SWAC or MEAC, we can still do our thing against them.
All right, I want to make sure that you guys follow the pregame show all weekend, not only for the best access to the Jackson State practice, locker room, bus, buffet, Neely. Neely known
hey,
not to.
I don't get mad. Coach Prime does me like Rob J. I don't get mad. He loves to see me in the food line. So the one thing about Neely, he ain't gonna miss no meal. And here's what I point out: he had to be in line to see me. It's not like somebody told him Neely making a plate. He's right there getting his plate too. So
fair point. And the celebrities this weekend. So if I look on any given day, TO is just on a road game. You just got NFL Hall of Famers, so some of the best of all time just hanging out. So I can only imagine, we've seen Nancy Lieberman just hanging out. We saw Cheryl Lee Ralph just stop by the office. So I can only imagine how it's going to pop off this weekend. But you can follow it all on The Pregame Show. If you're not following them yet on social media, what are you doing? Get over there. It's The Pregame Show, not hard. Neely, I appreciate it, man. Final question. How much of those Kappas going to turn up this weekend, man? What is it going to be like?
Tolly, I've been in this game 30 plus years now as a Kappa. Players here at Jackson State, Delta chapter, spring 91. And my line brothers will tell you something about me, and I think it applies to all of us here at Jackson State. We only got two speeds, own and owner. There is no off switch.
On and honor. I thought you were going to say on and off and we're always on. You said no, on and honor.
And honor. When the switch is up, push it all the way
up. I can only imagine. Now, if you really want to see the good stuff, this ain't for everybody. You might not get accepted. But that Neely personal Facebook and IG, that goes next level sometimes too.
It does, but like you told him, there's a waiting list. You got to get vetted.
Just because you be at the vet don't mean you're going to get vetted. You're going to pass the vetting. Good stuff, man. Look, I know you got to go bust Charles Bishop upside the head. You got your own show to do. Appreciate your time, man. You're coming from the set. You just got off the set. You were filming Coach Prime in one of his 8,000 TV shows, and you just got from behind the camera in front of the camera. So I know Neely always has sponsorship popping off, but he's not working for Barstool yet. I don't know. How are you?
Kind of, but yeah. I don't drive a Chevy Silverado, but, like you said, the set was available, so here I am.
There he is. All right, brother. We'll be watching this weekend, man. Enjoy the rest of that homecoming, and next week we'll talk about how it all went down. Oh, prediction. Oh, wait. What are we doing? You give us point spread predictions every week.
And, Tolly, you've kind of been on me, saying that I'm off. I went back and checked. I ain't been that far off. Of course, I'm hitting all the W's because we're undefeated. But in some of those spreads, okay, for instance, I told you last week 42-6. The game was 48-8.
I'll be totally honest. I don't double check what you say. I just give you a hard time and just say you are wrong.
Okay. Yeah.
You called me out on it. Good move.
Let me tell you this. You gave me you're like Rob J and Coach Prime. You gave me such a well-acted hard time. I had to go check my own numbers. I was like, what is he talking about? I haven't been that far off. I think I only missed one in the spread. Got them all right on the win-loss, but only missed one on the spread.
If you would have asked me, what did Neely say last week, I would have said, Neely said something like 50-0 Jackson State. That's all I hear. Jackson State 50, opponent 0.
Let me get real, because I never put the other opponent at nothing, because those guys got a weight room. They got scholarship athletes. They got people that work hard all over the summer. They got qualified coaches. A shutout is a hard thing to do. We've come close to it, but it's a hard thing to do. And I do know that sometimes our defense can bend, even though we haven't broken yet. And so I'm always looking at that one play where someone's going to get a field goal or two, or maybe even a touchdown out of it. But just like this defense last year, no one scored on us 3 times outside of South Carolina State, that Celebration Bowl. The same thing is here. So no one is scoring like that on us. So I'm capping opponents somewhere between 6 and 12, and we're typically in that 36-42 range. So now to the predictions with Campbell, because I know that's what you wanted me to say. As I look at the tail of the tape, their quarterback, what their defense gives up, what our running game can do, because they give up some running yards, I'm going to go Jackson State 38, Campbell 14.
38-14. All right, we'll see. We'll see. I can't argue. You have caught no L's this year. Only J's and W's, no L's. So 38-14.
Or 24 points or more. That's the part you missed, Tyler.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not a gambler. I don't really, I don't.
Long as Jackson State wins by 24 points or more, I won. I called it.
Okay. All right. When people start getting really mathematical, I kind of get lost. All right. So there it is. We will see. Enjoy yourself, man. I know it's going to be a lot of fun, but I do realize how hard you work, man. I cannot watch a game on TV without every time they go to commercial break. Here comes Neely in the shot. Between you and Deion Sanders Jr., I don't know who does not have a uniform that gets in the camera more. You guys are neck and neck.
I tell you what, yeah, he's got me. I'll give it off to I call him Big Deion, and he's got some youth on me. He's a little faster on those shots. You'll see him sprinting down the sideline. If I can't get down there before it's over, I just missed it, because Neely ain't running nowhere except to breakfast with the team. So yeah, he's doing a wonderful job. So always, man, you talk about following at Thee Pregame Show. Make sure you're following at Go JSU Tigers FB. So it's Go JSU Tigers Football on Instagram. Lots of additional things that are inside there that he gets to cover. So exceptional work by Big Deion.
All right. When you see Rob J, tell him to send me a check. I think I spoke his praises greater than most this week. Just tell him to mail
I
that.
I got another one for you, Tolly.
What's that?
You be sure and watch that latest clip on the pregame show, the slap heard around the world, if you will. And I'm going to make sure you get that shirt that Rob J shirt that you see at the end of that. Yeah, that's what I get you.
I'd wear it too. I'd wear it. So you get me one, I will put it on for sure. It'll go nice with my ski vest that Neely doesn't like. I know I'm probably getting obliterated in the comments, but literally, I got out of the car. I got out of the car straight to the desk because Neely had a small window. No makeup, no nothing. Just straight out of the car.
First of all, Tolly, you're not skiing. Second thing is the misnomer of a ski vest. You're admitting that you're cold, but that your arms are hot. Like, I don't get it.
It keeps the chest warm, Neely. It's something about your core, man. It keeps your core warm.
Charlie, I do understand it because I do sleep with one leg out the bed, out from the cover. So, it's kind of like that's what you're doing. You got your legs out from under the cover, but you covered up here.
My left foot is on fire. Yeah, yeah.
Man, look.
I'll be honest. It reminds me of when I was in high school. It just makes me nostalgic about being a kid.
And that's what I was about to tell you. I was about to say it's a nice, calm, neutral color, and the ski vest, be back in style at some point. So you just keep it. It's coming back around.
It was about $12 at Old Navy. So even if y'all don't like it, I got a deal.
On sale, I see.
For sure. All right. He's Neely. I'm Tolly Carr. We'll see you guys. Enjoy it wherever you're at this weekend. A lot of homecomings, a lot of big games. You guys have a good time. We'll talk to you next week.